Hello everyone and welcome to Biz Chats. Every Wednesday we interview expert and get business advice, guidance, and best practices. Today I'm very excited to be chatting with Taryn from Beacon Brokerage. So Taryn's a high volume seller on BizON and a licensed business broker who's passionate about entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship through acquisition. She works with industry-leading M&A team at Beacon Brokerage, as I mentioned, in a variety of verticals and brings over a decade of experience in commercial real estate, business valuation, and multi-million dollar business line management. I'm very excited for her to join us. I'm gonna invite her to this conversation and we're gonna get started. Hello, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you well.
Perfect. You sound great as well. So I just gave everyone a little intro for all the people that are coming in and out, so they know who you are. But we are going to record this, and we're going to have this on our YouTube channel so people can watch it on demand as well. So I'm very excited to talk about today's topic because business brokers mean a lot to our community. Because obviously a ton of our users are always looking for guidance above and beyond what the BizON marketplace could provide. So today's topic, how to buy and sell a business with a business broker, I think is going to provide a ton of value for everyone listening in today. Now, to get started, I want to respect your time. We have 10 questions. I'm going to kick it off with the first one here. Why is entrepreneurship through acquisition the best kept secret?
I think there's a couple reasons why it's the best kept secret. And, part of that is because it's not super newsworthy. So, startups always get the limelight, or franchises always have this big advertising budget. And so they can advertise to, draw attention to their brand. But when it comes to entrepreneurship through acquisition, we're usually talking about private companies, and those business owners crave confidentiality. So they don't want to be in the limelight. A lot of them really are about keeping their business, private and personal to them. And so because of that lack of newsworthiness and the confidentiality component, a lot of people don't really hear about entrepreneurship through acquisition. And so, the beauty of it is it's a less risky path to entrepreneurship. So, usually you can do a combination of equity and debt. So your ROI is, fantastic, quite frankly. You have predictable cash flows. When you walk in, you purchase a business, on day one, customers are coming through the door, you have that cash flow. So it really is a less risky path to entrepreneurship, but you still get to be the boss, set your own hours, build something beautiful that suits your lifestyle and fits your life. And so it's a really fascinating path to entrepreneurship.
I would agree. We definitely share the same passion for that. It's funny because even at BizON, what we like to say is our biggest challenge is creating a sexy brand in an unsexy space because it's so secretive, and a lot of people, see the media and look at all these unicorn startups out of Silicon Valley, but they're missing out on those diamonds in the rough. Those existing opportunities that you could get right involved and have impact out the gate and create a great lifestyle for yourself, right? So that's awesome. So what does, I know this, but for people that don't know this, what does a business broker do?
So at our core, we help sellers sell and buyers acquire businesses. So a business broker is an expert in the space. Most sellers that we work with haven't sold a business before. They've been operating for 25, 30 years, and it's not necessarily something that they've had exposure or experience with. And so really we come in with a background in obviously real estate, but also mergers and acquisitions. And so we bring a level of expertise that our clients are looking for. We simplify the process. We make it quite a bit easier for them. We manage everything on their behalf. And because of our expertise, we really help them in terms of marketing and setting the right price and that kind of thing. So we really do come at it as an expert in the field that is there to guide and manage the process for our clients.
Awesome. So this goes into the next question. Do you truly believe that everyone needs a business broker?
No, I really don't. So, when it comes to sellers, you need a bit of a sizable business, to commit to the path with a business broker, because we do manage that process. There is obviously a fee involved. We need to make money as well. And so if you have, something on the smaller side, then a business broker is definitely not for you. One of the requests that I do get is folks that are looking to buy a business, sometimes inquire about utilizing a business broker's services. And so, I wouldn't say there's a whole lot of value in having a business broker represent the buy and the sell side, because we kind of manage the transaction as a whole. But there can be some value in having almost a consultant type of relationship with a business broker to help you through the process of finding businesses, valuing them, taking a look to see if it's a good fit for your criteria, and then kind of helping consult on the transaction as a whole.
Absolutely. I like that. I like that a lot. Now, what other, in the whole process of working with a business broker, are there other advisors that a potential buyer or seller may need?
100%. And to be honest, it's surprising how often I get into a transaction with both a buyer and seller, and they don't have a lawyer or accountant that's ready to go, as soon as they
The acquisition team.
Right, exactly. And it's so important to not only have, an accountant and lawyer, but someone that has exposure and experience with business transactions. Because, not all accountants and lawyers are created equal, and you want someone in your corner that has been through this before, that has, experience in this, and will be able to provide the right kind of advice to you through the process. They're in your corner, and you need
Absolutely.
someone that has that experience.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So paint the picture for me, or for everyone listening quickly. What's the general process for selling a business with a business broker? How does that look?
So when it comes to selling a business with a broker, there's, a whole lot of steps that we kind of manage on their behalf. It obviously starts out with an initial consultation to make sure that we're a right fit for that particular seller, and that business is a right fit for our portfolio. So we do kind of start out with that initial consultation. From there, we actually have an in-house valuation team. So they take a look at the detailed financials, market information. We go through and produce a broker's opinion of value. That basically has a range of the appropriate market price for that business based on our experience and the data that we have available to us. So we go out and set that price with the seller. From there, we create a customized marketing strategy. So usually that involves, targeting potential acquisition targets. It would involve our listing services. So we list on obviously BizON and other listing websites as well. We have a very comprehensive database of potential buyers that we also reach out to. So we have a pretty comprehensive newsletter. And then within that marketing strategy, we always create a blind profile is what we call it. So it's a confidential way to list the business. And then we also create a very comprehensive investor package. So usually it's, 25, 30 pages long, and we take a deep dive into not only the business itself, but the market that the business is in. So it really gives potential buyers an idea of whether it's a good fit for them or not.
Absolutely.
From there, we kind of go through the pre-qualification process as buyers inquire. We manage all the buyer-seller meetings. We manage the negotiation, and we manage the interface between all the lawyers and accountants and buyers and sellers, and we kind of quarterback that entire process through to transition. So we're a full-service brokerage, and we handle everything from start to finish.
Now, a side question, are you involved in that actual transition period? Because usually when someone buys, they want the previous owner to stay on for X amount of months. Are you holding their hand through that process as well?
So usually our involvement in that process would be to make sure that in not only the LOI, but the final purchase agreement, those are very specifically laid out. So we want to make sure that the buyer feels very comfortable with the transition process. So usually that involves, setting the hours. How often are they available? Are they available on a consultative basis, 6 months after the fact? Those types of things to, make sure not only the buyer feels comfortable, but this is also the seller's baby, and they're handing it over to someone else, and you want to make sure that that knowledge that's been earned over a number of years really transitions well, because they want to see the business continue to succeed as well.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that brings us halfway. For everyone listening in or on demand, this Biz Chats is brought to you by Beacon Brokerage. So make sure you go check out their website to learn more about their services. And I think this is a great example of our preferred brokers and the types of brokers we work with, because we acknowledge on the BizON marketplace that not every business owner has what it takes to try and sell it on their own. They definitely want to connect with preferred brokers, and we have that option for them if they're in need of more guidance along that journey. And you are a perfect example of one of our top preferred brokers, and we definitely appreciate our relationship. So to continue and finish this off here, the next question is, and you were touching on it a little, but why is an LOI so important?
So an LOI, or letter of intent, is kind of often overlooked in the process. And I actually did a blog post on this because I was encountering this so frequently with potential buyers. But what you want to be able to do if you're interested in purchasing a business is you want to be able to, first of all, lay out the terms and conditions of your purchase upfront. You don't necessarily need to involve a lawyer and, pay their hourly fee in order to lay out those terms. You want to make sure from the get-go that, first of all, timing works for both the buyer and seller, that the price works for both of them, whatever you're willing to offer, the deal structure, whether there's a vendor take back or if there's any financing involved with the purchase, and also the transition. So how long do you expect the owner to stay on for? And so the letter of intent allows you to, first of all, lay everything on the table. And second of all, it usually involves some type of deposit, which means you lock up that opportunity. And myself as a business broker, that means that we're not entertaining other offers. We're not speaking to other, potential buyers that are coming in. We're basically saying we're under contract. We're going through this process. We're going through due diligence. The buyer and seller have kind of agreed to those terms, and we're good to move forward. So it locks it up and it lays everything out on the table.
Perfect. So now with that, what should someone expect during that due diligence process? Like, how long is it? How intrusive is it? How does that look?
So the due diligence process does vary depending on the size of the business. So, if we have a business that's kind of in the $250,000 to $750,000 range, then you're probably looking at something that's maybe 2 to 6 weeks. And then larger businesses are obviously at the back end of that. So the due diligence process is usually very comprehensive. You want to make sure that as a buyer coming in with your list of questions, you're well prepared. What information are you looking for? It's not just financial statements. Maybe it's, customer lists or historical information that you're looking for, supplier contracts, those types of things. So you want to make sure you're well prepared to take a deep dive. And really the purpose is to validate everything that you've already seen up to that point. So everything you saw in the investor package, and really get a level of comfort, and have your accountant get a level of comfort too, that, the business is worth what price you attach to it. And I have had circumstances where during the due diligence process, sometimes, there's a modification to the price. So maybe the owner acquired a new customer that's worth a significant amount to the business and they have a contract attached to that. Maybe the price goes up. Or maybe something was uncovered that the business is still a good fit, but maybe it's not at the price that you initially thought it was because something, doesn't quite jive, and then the price goes down a little bit. So, usually I would say it stays on track at the same price, but there are circumstances where it changes.
Absolutely. There's I guess like a fluid aspect to that whole process because it is long, right? There's so many things that can happen in those 2 to 6 weeks. So that makes sense. So what do you need to know about a formal offer to purchase? What would you say about that?
So the formal offer to purchase is really based on that letter of intent. So for the most part, whatever's kind of represented in that letter of intent usually transitions over to the formal offer to purchase. And it is handled by the purchaser's lawyer, that first draft. And then the seller's lawyer would take a look at that, and, we kind of go back and forth and negotiate some of the terms and clauses. So it's a much more expanded view of the letter of intent, but it is based on that letter of intent.
Got it. Makes sense. Now, one thing that I know at BizON, we get, so other than how much is my business worth, the next most popular question is, surrounding a transition period. Like, hey, if I buy this business, is that owner going to stay on with us? What's going to happen? How does that look?
Mm-hmm.
So from your angle, what's involved and how does that standard transition period look?
So the transition period is, it's negotiated between the two parties and both have to feel comfortable with it. You can't expect a seller to stay on for 6 months with no additional compensation, for 40 hours a week kind of thing. So it has to be something that both parties feel comfortable with, and you want to make sure that those commitments are known up front, so that you make it pretty black and white. Don't leave any gray in this area. You want to make sure that it's something that, the buyers and sellers are on the same page. And so usually when it comes to that transition period, you're not only taking a look at training, so what processes exist in the business today, maybe the seller has some advice on a go forward, maybe where they would have taken the business in terms of growth, but you're also meeting with key suppliers, meeting with key customers, sitting down with all the employees and making sure that everyone is very well prepared and comfortable, that the person that's taking over the business has what it takes and is trained up and ready to go, but also that they sit back and they say, okay, these employees that have been working for this company for 15 years, they know so much about that business and they are a very important resource, for the purchaser to come in and take advantage of and really learn from them as well. So it's kind of like an introductory training opportunity. Usually it lasts at least 4 weeks. Depending on the size of the business, it can last a bit longer.
Absolutely. And I think from our experience too, people have to sit back and understand that in most cases, it may vary, but other than, purchasing, say, a house or whatnot, this is probably like the second biggest transaction for a business owner. So there's a lot, at stake, and there's a lot running on this. So that transition period is very important. Like the whole process is very important, because one thing that I think a lot of people are scared of is, okay, well, what if I buy this business and, all the top clients and all the top employees bounce?
Yeah.
Right. So there has to be from a seller perspective, I truly believe they need to do everything in their power to ensure they're creating a sellable and self-sufficient business, right? Where a buyer can come in and nothing's negatively affected. Right. So I think there's a ton of conversation around this and massive, a massive opportunity for people to really create sellable businesses and for people to have great transition periods in order to just capitalize on that opportunity, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, when it comes to sellers, one of the most important things they can do in terms of preparation is making sure that when they get plucked out of that business, that the business, continues on as it was before. So sometimes that's hiring a key manager and training them up. But it does make your business so much more scalable so that when a buyer comes in, they know they have a management team to depend on while they get up to speed with the business. So it's super crucial.
Yeah. You probably obviously have come across this term, the Switzerland structure. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's massive, having a self-sufficient business like I was talking about before. And then obviously recurring financials and timing, those all play factors. But you touched, I don't want to get too far off topic, but you touched on preparation.
Yeah.
Now, how does that look like, or how can I phrase this? So when does someone start to prepare, whether they're looking to buy or sell? Right. When does that preparation start?
So I think when it comes to sellers, you want to start probably at least 6 months before. Like sometimes we encounter sellers that made the decision yesterday that they're looking to sell, and that's okay too, and we can handle it and we'll get through it. But if you really want to maximize value in the sale of your business, you want to prepare for that up front. So, not only is that making sure that you have the right staff structure in place to make it really saleable and, appealing to a potential buyer coming in, but it's also getting everything in order from a paperwork perspective. Most of the businesses we deal with obviously deal with fairly well-known accounting firms. And so that's one of the most important things, making sure your finances are in order. You're going to get grilled and you're going to get a ton of questions about, the financial health of your business. And if you don't know the answers to those questions, it makes a buyer a little bit nervous. So as a business owner, you need to be well-versed and ready to go and have those financial statements ready and know them inside and out.
Makes sense, right? Like I said before, it's a massive, transaction. So for a seller to think that financials aren't going to be under a microscope, that's not realistic, right? So
yeah, and when it comes to buyers as well, there is preparation involved up front. And so it's funny because I'll get calls every day with someone being like, oh, I think I want to be an entrepreneur and buy a business, and that's fantastic that they have that drive and they have that desire. But how much can you afford? And what industry are you looking in? What's your skill set? How does that match up with a potential business that you're looking at? Because you have to narrow down the playing field a little bit, right? It's okay if you're industry agnostic, but are you looking for something in the manufacturing space, in the retail space? You probably have some money to invest yourself, but have you visited, whether it's some form of financing institution that can help you through with that purchase? Because if you are able to get equity and debt combination, maybe through a financing institution or having investors back you, knowing how much you can afford is a pretty important question. And it does help you narrow down that field a little bit. So, preparation on the buy side is also very important.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I know we read the same books as well, Entrepreneurship Through Acquisition from Harvard Business School. And in there, a lot of buyers don't think this, but in there, they basically put a price tag on the search process, and right? And people need to understand, especially if you're a buyer, like you're investing a ton of time, potential lost wages, and other sorts of fees. I think the price, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Harvard, the two professors there put a price tag of between $500,000 to $1 million potentially in that search process to finding that perfect business, right? 100%. So people have to think about that.
Yeah, because it's not only your time, right? If you have a lawyer and accountant involved that's taking a look at, those types of deals, it can definitely be that expensive depending on the size of company that you're looking at.
Sure. Yeah, obviously, yeah. That makes sense. Well, this has been a really good conversation. I love it. I think, for the people tuning in live or in and out, we're going to also share this for 24 hours on our stories, so a ton more people can look at it there, and also on our YouTube channel. So I think people are going to get a ton of value out of this, and hopefully some people will give you a call if they're not leveraging BizON, and then you can leverage us anyways. Yes. But the way I end every Biz Chats is with a rapid fire. So I'm going to ask you 3 quick questions. First thing that comes to the top of your mind, don't really put any thought into it, just first thing. Last song you listened to was?
Oh, on the way to daycare to drop my daughter off this morning, it was that Justin Timberlake and Chris Stapleton song, that Say Something, I think it's called.
Okay. Yeah. I like that song, actually. Yeah. What was the last movie you watched?
This isn't a movie, but Sesame Street with my daughter. Actually, no, when we were in Los Angeles, we saw San Andreas, that movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Watched it just because we were in California and close to the fault line. I don't know. Anyways.
Scary, right?
A little bit, yeah.
So it's funny that you say that about your daughter. My TV is locked. I like CP24. That's my favorite TV show. But my TV is literally locked on Wiggles, Paw Patrol, and Peppa Pig. Peppa Pig?
Yeah, Peppa Pig.
Oh my God.
Paw Patrol is huge in our house too.
Crazy, right? All right. Last question is, what was the last book you read?
So I actually reread the Harvard Business Review Guide to Buying a Small Business probably every quarter, just because I really like the information that they put in there, and I think it's so valuable, and I learn something new every time I read it. But I also reread Story Brand by Donald Miller. I don't know if you've read that one.
No, I haven't.
Marketing book, and it's fantastic. So from like an entrepreneur myself perspective, I found a lot of value in that book. So that was my second time reading that one as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you for doing this.
Thank
Also,
you.
no, not a problem at all. Another thank you to Beacon Brokerage for making this all happen. Yeah, like I said, this is recorded. We'll download it. It'll be on YouTube. We'll share it with everyone so they could check it out. And I guess my regular plug is if you're interested in buying or selling a business, anyone listening, check out mybizon.com. We have awesome opportunities and we can connect you with awesome brokers like you.
We love the BizON platform. So we're
Thank you
huge
so much.
fans of what you bring to entrepreneurship through acquisition. And we think it's really a fantastic platform for people that are looking to, maybe sell themselves or maybe sell through a business broker. So we're
sure. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Have a great week and we'll chat soon.
Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Bye.